Welcome to a football show here, Monday edition, Monday Night Football edition. He is Zach. I am Braden here at the Pharmacy, Burger Parlor, and Beer Garden in East Nashville, right on McFerrin Avenue. We've got a lot of stuff to get to today on the show. Lots of I told you so's, lots of victory laps in both the SEC and the AFC South. So there's a ton of stuff to do on the show. Welcome everybody in, depending on where you're watching us, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. If you're listening on the pod, this is why you watch it live, Zach, because we're going to give you some analysis on the Bills game tonight against the Tennessee Titans. And that's going to go out of date quickly if you listen to the podcast. So we love you if you listen to the podcast, but you need to watch it live because we're going to give you the prescription to win the game in terms of Bills Titans on Monday night. It better be some heavy narcotics. That's all I'm going to say when it comes to the prescription to win a game. So we'll get to that coming up in just a little while.
Again, it has nothing to do with actual drugs.
No.
It's all about the pharmacy. It's a pun.
It's all about the pharmacy, which, of course, if you did not know, we are here at the pharmacy. And if you didn't know, when they dug the place up in 2011 to build this beautiful beer garden that you see behind us here today, they found a bunch of, let's call them prescriptions. They found a bunch of narcotics, and that's how they got the name the pharmacy. It's actually a cool origination story. Again, great place to grab lunch. If you want to come out and pregame for the game tonight, make sure you come out to the pharmacy, grab yourself a burger and some brats and some tots. Have a great time. Of course, the Kingston Group, Weiss Liquors as well. Our show here, a football show, brought to you by Weiss Liquors. Uber Eats, search Weiss Liquors, have the booze delivered directly to your house, Zach.
They drive so you can drink.
That is exactly what they do. Pop in if you order. If you go to the cashier register, just say the name 440. They'll give you 10% off. That's tax-free booze. There's your shirt right there. Weiss Liquors, of course. We mentioned the pharmacy and Kingston Group. BuildKG.com is the website. If you're making any big decisions about your house, do not make those decisions without talking to a professional. And I know some very famous media people in this market that are now using the Kingston Group. So go check out the Kingston Group. They will not let you down.
Look at that.
BuildKG.com. Is the website. So again, lots of fun stuff. A Colts victory lap, some AFC South nonsense we got to talk about. Florida week, we told you so's in the SEC. Some questions about Bama and LSU and a bunch of stuff in the SEC, which will be evergreen. But the reason you watch live and the reason you watch us right away on all the different platforms, Zach, is because the game is tonight for the Tennessee Titans.
That's right.
Not a lot of time here.
I get it. Look, I understand that, for podcasting purposes, we got to do evergreen content. But everybody's tuning in.
Yeah, baby.
That's tuning in live is tuning in to talk about the Bills game. And even and basically what can happen here, because we're going to give you the prescription to win. Pharmacy, get it? We talked about it.
I think we get it.
But what if they don't do these things, this is why they lost. So we kind of cover both bases here, right? I mean, okay, well, obviously, if we say, they should bracket Diggs and they end up losing and because they didn't bracket Diggs, well, guess what? Still good content. We were still right.
And 0-2. You went down a historical AFC South Twitter well, I think, on Sunday watching games because I was following you on Twitter and you're basically like, this is what could happen or could not happen for the Tennessee Titans should they end up 0-2. So we'll give you some of the implications of an 0-2 start and some of the data that you need to know if perhaps the Titans don't follow this prescription and got for you guys on Monday night.
if you need your instant loss reaction, then go to BroadwaySportsMedia.com because we'll have all the articles there, and I'll probably write something about why the Titans lost, similar to what I did last week. And don't forget, Football and Other F Words is going to be there on Wednesday with our new co-host.
Big announcement?
So on Wednesday, big announcement. So with our new co-host, and basically you'll hear the unfiltered frustrations of a loss. If the Titans lost, or if they win, you'll hear the unabashed celebration.
So before we get into your prescription for success, again, Kingston Group, Weiss Liquors, and of course the pharmacy here, all the other great shows from 440 Sports, and of course Broadway Sports Media, F Words Pod, big announcement coming on Wednesdays. Here's what I want to float out a few general things because we didn't really touch on this on Thursday, but it was kind of floating around in the Titans ether about the underdog mentality. I think Kevin Byard was talking about it.
Yes.
And just sort of like backs against the wall. And while I think that works for this game, because the Bills are the favorite in the AFC, you came off a really bad performance. You're a heavy underdog on the road against a rival you've played now 3 years in a row in primetime, all of which gives Buffalo maybe the edge in kind of all these psychological categories. I do think that mentality is hurtful long-term, which I think you agree with, but I think it's good for the game Monday night against the Bills.
I still think it's bullshit. Okay, and here's why. That mentality is good when you don't go 12-5 in the AFC and already beat the Bills the last 2 times you played. Why are you, just because the world views you as an underdog, why do you think yourself as an underdog?
I think
you should be going in at this point thinking that you're the aggressor. You don't give a shit what the world thinks, that you're going to go in there and kick their ass because you're the alpha dog. You're not the underdog.
That's all valid. I can't argue with that. I do think that some people, some humans, athletes or otherwise, function very well with the chip on their shoulder. That's how they are extra motivated.
Yeah,
so
but you have to
have.
Why does the chip on the shoulder have to be correlated that you view yourself as the underdog? Can't you just be pissed?
I guess.
I mean, like, to me, this underdog
whatever
mentality,
gets Kevin Byard pissed off for greatness is all I care about, I guess.
I mean, I just think that have this locker room mentality of the underdog is kind of weird because you should not consider yourselves underdog anymore. You can have the you against the world view mentality without viewing yourself as an underdog.
I agree with that, actually. And what I would say is to kind of, again, just broad general strokes here before we get into the actual RX for success. I think it's more about long-term versus short-term. I think it can work on a given day. Like if you're struggling to get up for a given day, and that should not be the case for NFL players in an NFL game because it's a huge deal. But on a given moment, I'm good with finding any possible conceivable thing that can get you motivated. I think to exist permanently in professional sports as the other guy, especially in professional sports, college sports, that's different. But in professional sports, I think that's a harmful mentality long term. But like, again, I think on Monday night, if they want to feel slighted and feel like it's a thing that they were garbage last week and Buffalo's the favorite to win everything and all this other stuff, like if it helps them play well tonight, great. I guess is the way
I guess. I mean, I don't find a different mentality, I guess. I mean, I guess that's where I'm at right now. Is
the opposite of Mamba.
Yeah, I'm find a different way to channel your disrespect or your thinking, because when you think you're the underdog all the time, you start playing like an underdog all the time, and that's what you saw with the Giants. They played down. This team constantly. This is not just a Vrabel issue. This team throughout the years has this mentality. I don't think it's just a Vrabel thing. I think it's like caked into the DNA of Nashville that they view themselves, citizens here, when you get here.
But Adams did this to us a long time ago.
View themselves as some underdog because they're a newer market team.
Yeah.
When really, at this point, that's why they play down, I think. I think that's why you see this team throughout the years play down to lesser opponents because they are the underdog.
I can totally buy into that. That is a pretty good psychological descriptor of why they do that. Why do they come out against teams that are less than? The other angle of that is that the NFL is just extremely balanced, which is why the Titans have a chance to beat the Bills. Because even when you play terrible football and you are an underdog and you weren't good enough to beat the Giants and you do play down to competition, then on any given Sunday, basically these teams are all about the same. Now, is Ryan Tannehill better than Josh Allen? No. Is the receiving core better than the Bills' receiving core? Of course not. Like, there's plenty that the Titans have an advantage of, namely their defensive line. And I like a lot of those pieces. There are some pieces that will be out tonight. Christian Fulton, Dontrell Hilliard. It does appear that Josh Gordon could play.
Those 8 snaps. Woo! Fired up for some Josh Gordon single-digit snaps. Woo, baby.
What's the headline? Okay, what is the fake Twitter headline? And what should the real headline be about Josh Gordon playing 6 snaps on Monday night?
The fake Twitter headline thinks that apparently Josh Gordon is back. That's what his agent has even said, because, of course, he's paid for his agent.
No conflict of interest.
Yeah, no conflict of interest. But people are buying into this thing that you're getting flash Josh Gordon. What it should be is that he's out there. He basically takes attention off of someone else, and someone else gets the ball.
Okay.
Because at this point, you could maybe look for like 2 catches for 25 yards, 2 catches for 30 yards. You're not getting a 100-yard game out of Josh fucking Gordon.
So the real headline should be Josh Gordon attempts to salvage career with 1 first down catch.
Yeah,
is what the real headline is. Whereas the Twitter headline is like Josh Gordon attempts to save Titans season.
Yeah, I mean, people think that he's. My favorite part about this whole Josh Gordon thing is it started last night, where I guess during COVID, practice squad players didn't travel with the team anymore. Now that's been lifted, right? Okay, so everybody got all up in arms and everybody got pumped. Josh Gordon, yeah.
Why are people pumped about Josh Gordon?
I don't get it, but I mean, you got these ridiculously, massive exaggerations of tweets, and they were like, well, this also means that Kyle Phillips isn't playing. Those 2 things are not related. Where do you think that the Titans look at this team and think, well, if Kyle Phillips is out, next man up is Josh Gordon to play the slot. Like, what the fuck?
I mean, is he the sixth receiver that could be plugged in, or fifth receiver because the fourth receiver is off the maybe not going to play? Maybe, but it's definitely not.
I don't.
Not scheme
it's just
dependent.
happenstance at that point. Like, if anybody is coming up from the practice squad to replace Kyle Phillips, it's Mason Kinsey. But in the reality of things, if Kyle Phillips isn't playing, that's more snaps for Chig. That's more snaps for Traylon Burks. That is a snap. That void of snaps that he played last week is going to be spread out among two or three people, not just a one-to-one replacement, which was totally ridiculous about Josh Gordon.
I agree with all of that. We'll get to the 0-2 implications of all teams that go 0-2, but specifically this Titans team and in the AFC South. What does it mean if a team goes 0-2? We'll take a look. We'll do some victory laps on the Colts and Vanderbilt and the SEC. It's Florida week, baby, so we got a lot of stuff to get to on the show today. But the prescription for a victory, to me, the prescription is more Henry. But I want to know what you wrote down.
I think that we don't need more Henry.
Okay.
I think we need the same amount of Henry we got last week. We just need better Henry. How about that?
A more efficient delivery
yes.
system.
Yes,
Henry.
because to me, let's do less Henry on first down, more Henry where he's successful, and give him the same amount of snaps, same amount of touches, and I think you'll see a better version of Henry. To me, I got on this run game. Yeah, you saw Darrell Henderson go off a little bit, but Cam Akers didn't get a lot of action. You know, no Ed Oliver, Tim Settle, and Jordan Phillips as of right now, kind of up in the air their status. So
not having Oliver's a big loss.
Yeah, it is, but they got replacements. That's the part of that's where the Bills have the edge. Their replacements and depth pieces are a step above the Titans, and I think the Titans have really good depth pieces, just a step above.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I don't think relying so much on Henry like you normally do is the way to beat this team. I actually think it's attacking the corners. Because you got
young corners, right?
Yeah, Christian Beneford, who's a sixth-round draft pick, and then you have Kaiir Elam, who both are not very good. And really, in all honesty, they try their best to get the passes to the outside. So the Bills of the defense, with their linebackers, are able to space and eliminate a lot of your middle of the field.
Okay.
So what you got to do is take advantage of that with these wide receivers that are infinitely better than these corners.
Okay, so you said a lot about the vanilla game plan against the Giants. They wanted to come out vanilla. You're not going to see a whole lot of creative.
God, it's so fucking hot out here,
Kelly. It will break records this week outside, and so if you want to come hang out at the pharmacy, that's why they have all these beautiful trees and shade and stuff to make sure you're far more comfortable. So when you come out to the pharmacy, the beer garden, of course, the burger parlor, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I'd be hot anywhere.
Yeah. But it's going to be 96 and 97 this week. Set records.
Get the hell out of here, Mother Nature. What's wrong with you?
Well, hopefully there's a break coming, and hopefully we'll see. Henry, 143 yards, 3 touchdowns. Had the long run last year against Buffalo, was a big part of that success. So don't
you think that's what they're coming to stop?
No,
though?
Of course.
They built their defense to stop Henry.
So I want to know from you, when it was vanilla last week and more efficient Henry, what does that look like outside of throwing the ball outside on first down?
Well, I think you got to get more people involved. I think you got to keep your offensive rotation of pass catchers. You got to keep them on their toes. Don't let them get comfortable. Okay, you cannot let this defense get settled, this Bills defense get settled and get comfortable. Keep them on their toes. Make sure that whoever is your tight end is chipping Von Miller, wherever Von Miller is at, before they go out for an easy pass. Take the easy passes. I don't care if Ryan Tannehill walks away with 5 yards per attempt. If it means you're keeping the ball out of the Bills' offense's hands and you're ending with touchdowns, not field goals. You cannot get into a kicking game with this team.
No. And you want typical Titans football, is what you're saying.
I do and I don't. Because to me, typical Titans football does not mean passing.
Okay.
I think Ryan Tannehill should have 30 attempts, which was not typical Titans football. But I think they should play safe through the air football. I think you got to attack the middle of the field because that's what they're trying to eliminate, right? They try to eliminate that because you can create mismatches with Chig, with Austin Hooper, with Traylon Burks or NWI in the slot when you have a big slot out there.
That would be a Kyle Phillips area too.
Yeah.
If he plays and he's healthy, that's an area over the middle where he could certainly.
I am not too concerned with Phillips playing or not. My concern is actually, out of all the injuries, is whether Dontrell Hilliard. I mean, we know Dontrell Hilliard's not playing, but the extent of that injury and him missing from this team
longer term
is. But to me tonight, that's the biggest missing piece. Oh, even over Christian Fulton is Dontrell Hilliard.
Interesting, because I'm really interested to see what Haskins is capable
I'm
of
interested
doing.
in seeing it, but we don't know,
Exactly.
right? It's the unknown.
We know he's a really good pass catcher. We know he's decent between the tackles. They haven't used Hilliard a lot between the tackles in that Henry role, but I think Haskins will be ready for tonight. I think he's very well coached. I think he's prepared. He's a great hands catcher, and he picked up the blitz pretty well last week in limited duty.
I agree.
I think Haskins is up for the challenge, but I think it is going to be interesting.
But you're missing a speed element, right? I mean, out of the backfield, because Hilliard, when he was lined up as wide receiver, taking routes out of the backfield, there is a speed element that you're missing. Because now, not only are you missing speed on defense, now you're missing speed on offense. So you have to use – you can't be afraid to use Traylon Burks 50% of the snaps or more. You can't be afraid to do that. You can't be afraid to let Chig create a mismatch. That's the thing. They have to stay and play aggressive by attacking, even if that means dinking and dunking. I know that's the opposite of aggressive, but you are attacking through the air on first downs. It works. Attacking through the air on first down works. It's a fact. Scientific fact.
Are you more concerned with the offensive production or stopping Josh Allen? It seems like you're focused a lot on the offense, which I think is okay.
But we've seen this team do a good job these last few years of peak Josh Allen to be able to stop him, right? I mean,
he threw all over the place last year.
But they stopped him everywhere you go. Yeah. They contained him better than most teams contain him.
Yes, in the running game for sure, around the goal line and short yardage. A lot of that was their front four, no blitzing. They got a lot of pressure. Jeffrey Simmons had a huge game.
Yeah,
Harold Landry had a big game, so he's going to be missed. No, now there's no Fulton too. So I don't
see. To me, the Fulton thing doesn't really.
Tall ask,
to me, the Fulton thing doesn't matter because if Gabriel Davis doesn't go, or even if he plays, he's not 100%. Single coverage on Gabriel Davis and bracketing coverage through Stephon Diggs is your game plan no matter what.
Okay.
No matter if Davis is healthy, no matter if or not healthy, no matter if Davis is not healthy and playing or out, you cannot let Stephon Diggs go off on you. And to do that, you got to bracket. I don't know what combination that is, whether that's Amani Hooker and Roger McCreary or Amani Hooker and Caleb Farley. To me, I think I'd put Caleb Farley on Gabriel Davis.
Okay.
Length and speed, athleticism, and let Roger McCreary get physical with Stephon Diggs up at the line while bracketing the coverage down the field.
Stoney says some comments here on the YouTube. If you want to get involved, of course, we're here live at the pharmacy on every single Monday. Normally, we're reacting to Titans. Obviously, a big game against the Bills. Stoney said prescription to win, a time machine to get 2013 Josh Gordon against these Bills corners. Landon says NPF going to need to rise to the occasion, especially if they move Von Miller over to that side.
They should, game. Right? I don't know if they'll do it over the entire game, but he had a healthy split over the left side and right side of the offensive line last week. No matter what, you got to keep your eyes on Stephon Diggs and you got to keep your eyes on Von Miller.
Yeah, I get those are the two big ones for sure. Pre-snap. Find those two guys. Yeah. There's no question about that. Mischief Mike Sever says easy win for the Bills. They've got Jamison Crowder. You can't cover him. I'm not sure about that.
This must be a Bills fan coming in.
I love it. Come on in, Bills fans. Come on in. Because
I did hashtag Bills Mafia try to get some in.
Because here's the deal. We're picking the Bills. I don't know about you.
No, I'm not.
I'm picking the Bills.
Definitely not picking the Bills.
You're not picking the Bills?
No.
You got the Titans.
Yeah.
What's final score?
Final score is going to be 31-28. Titans.
All right.
Close game, like it was last year.
I think it's a very close game. I think they play much better this week than they did last week.
I think the Bills' offensive line is a massive, massive weakness for this offense. I think the difference between our offensive line and their defensive line and our defensive line and their offensive line is much bigger than what people think. I think this defense is going to have a similar game. This Titans defense is going to have a similar game to last week as far as pressuring the quarterback.
Okay, they were after Jones the entire game. There's no question about that. It should be a great game.
Don't overcorrect for the run game.
Yes.
So run defense, do not overcorrect. Devin Singletary, Saquon Barkley, he is not.
No, he's not. All right, for instantaneous reaction, BroadwaySportsMedia.com, of course, and always F-Words Pod every single Wednesday. I know you got the Music City Audible coming out on Tuesday evening, so there's a lot of stuff from Broadway Sports. Make sure you check that out. Yes, getting inundated with Mischief Mike. I love it. I love it, Mischief Mike. I'm picking the Bills, by the way. If you just want to continue naming players in the comments, please, by all means, go for it. Just keep naming them. All right, so 0-2. Let's hypothetically say your prediction is incorrect. Even if you are even if you said it so smoothly.
Okay.
Even as smooth as this bearded iris from the pharmacy. Again, locally sourced beer paired with a local sourced burger place. It's a match made in heaven. Should they lose, hypothetically, they're 0-2. What sort of data did you discover about teams going 0-2 in the first 2 weeks of the NFL season? Well, making the playoffs.
There were 2 teams in 2018 that started off 0-2 that made it to the playoffs. And before that, including those 2 teams, since 2000, there's 17 teams that started their season out 0-2 and made it to the playoffs. So from 2000 to 2021.
So less than 10%.
Yeah, less than 10%.
Math, but that's less than 10%.
But there's also 2 Super Bowl winners out of that, the 0-1 Patriots and the 0-7 Giants. So what's interesting, though, is that if you look at all the instance of the AFC South, because it's a weird AFC South, right? You got a tie from the first week. The Colts are 0-1-1. The Texans are 0-1-1. And then you have the Jaguars sitting 1-1. Well, the Jaguars haven't made it to the playoffs since 2017. Okay, they haven't even had a winning season since 2017 with the AFC Championship game. No team since 1970 at the very latest. Yeah, there was one team in 1970 that started out 0-1-1 and made it to the playoffs.
Okay, that was not as smooth as this bearded iris.
Yeah,
but still good numbers.
Yeah.
Though. Okay,
so since 1970, there's only been one team to make the playoffs that started out 0-1-1.
All right,
and. Well, I already covered the 0-2. So one of those things has to give if the Titans go out and lose tonight to the Buffalo Bills, and you have to think that it's going to be the 0-2 one.
And how? And how often have the Titans since 2000 gone 0-2? 4 times,
and never a winning record.
Now, I would say that's purely anecdotal evidence to the Titans specifically. All your stuff about the AFC South
that's a different coach.
Yes, like multiple different coaches. But I think a lot is made of the 0-2 thing. I still think if you're, especially in this division where it's winnable, clearly very winnable, I don't have as much a concern about the 0-2 start as I would if this was the AFC West, for example. Lots of winnable games. I mean, you're looking at the AFC, and if the Dolphins are going to be one of the better teams, like, again, outside of the Bills and the Chiefs maybe, you're seeing teams that are beatable. The Raiders losing in overtime. You've seen the Bengals struggling big time on the offensive line. You're seeing the Patriots are not any good. Like, you're seeing a lot of teams that we thought were going to be wildcard contenders struggling, and that is good news for the Titans.
I mean, look at the Broncos. Everybody made a big, massive deal about the Broncos getting Russell Wilson and all this stuff. Well, we've seen that Nathaniel Hackett is an idiot. Russell Wilson is not as good as he has been in previous years. He looks terrible right now. And so to me, it's like, this is stuff that we all thought was going to, well, not we all, this stuff that I thought was going to happen, specifically the Colts. Because
you want to take the victory lap?
Yeah, because
explore the beer garden.
What have I said on this show all year? That wouldn't be surprised if maybe the Colts were the 3rd place team in the AFC South. And what happens on Sunday? Matt Ryan is throwing ridiculously bad passes. I mean, the worst. I mean, it's not just that they're getting intercepted. It's the trajectory they take to get intercepted. Basically, he lobbed one up that looked like it was like a free throw shot. You know, it was ridiculous. And his arm is done for. And Easton Freeze of BroadwaySportsMedia.com, he put out a tweet saying, well, you know, I just want to remind everybody that they're out without their top 2 pass catchers. And so I said, well, I'm sure those 2 guys, Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman.
It's a factual statement.
It's a factual statement. But I'm sure those guys, and I said, I'm sure those guys would make up the 25 points that they would need to win. He goes, well, it would be 23-6. So who cares about that tweet? Like, thanks for the reminder of something that doesn't fucking matter in the end.
All right. This is what they don't make up for. 33 first downs for the Colts in week 1, 9 first downs in an NFL football game.
I remember it took them overtime to get to those
9 first downs. 517 yards of offense in week 1, 218 yards of offense.
For the longest time, Jonathan Taylor had like 7 to 9 yards for the majority of the game.
He touched the ball 10 times total. They've had 5 turnovers in 2 games. They ran the ball 177 yards in week 1. They ran the ball for 54 yards. Now, their rushing defense has been solid in both games. And the defense has got some nice pieces, but it is hard to overstate how awful the offense has looked. And is that the offensive line? Is that the receiving core? Is that Matt Ryan? Is it all of the above? I think the answer is
it is
all of the above.
everybody.
Yeah.
It is from Chris Ballard and Jim Irsay on down. They've ignored their left tackle spot. They have ignored their pass catchers. They've ignored the quarterback position, and this is what you fucking get. This is what you get when you ignore the most important positions for a team to make it to the Super Bowl this year, and you get embarrassed. They are now 0-8 as the road team against the Jaguars. If you did not take that Jaguars, if you did not take the Jaguars money line, I told you on this show to do it. I told you on Twitter before the game started because I was like, I cannot believe this is still
multiple times.
Plus money line.
No,
I don't think Darius Leonard fixes everything.
No,
either.
No. I had him
or Shaquille, but I'm not calling him Shaquille.
I had the Jags plus a 3.5 on about Friday morning, so I felt pretty good when I checked the box score on this game. So again, 0-2 for the Titans, 0-2 for the Colts, 0-2 for anybody, 0-1, whatever it might be.
Don't give them a loss.
Whatever
it's 0-1.
Whatever it might be, the season isn't over, so let's not go insane.
It's over for the Colts.
But if you're a Titans fan and you're trying to get over your 0-2 and the White Slicker Uber Eats hasn't arrived yet, and you're waiting for the booze to show up because you lost tonight and you want some of that booze to drown your sorrows, just remember, it could be worse.
Could be worse.
You could be the Colts.
Because they're technically probably stuck with Matt Ryan again next year, which is even worse unless he retires, but that doesn't really save them any money. What are they going to I bet Jim Irsay and Chris Ballard had raging erections when they saw Joe Flacco and his standing in the passing yard rankings, because they're thinking, oh, next year, Joe Flacco coming to save the Colts. Like,
it's funny, Tim on YouTube, our good friend Tim in our fantasy league says, can't wait for the Colts 2050 campaign with Mahomes.
With Patrick Mahomes.
I'm pretty sure Brett Favre's available. He's going through some stuff. He could probably use a little extra revenue right now.
I think
piece of trash.
I know people in the media from Indianapolis across the nation think Chris Ballard is some kind of genius, but I think Jim Irsay is looking at them letting Frank Reich talk him into Carson Wentz supposedly. And these two guys going out and getting Matt Ryan and starting 0-1. I don't know if you saw him yesterday signing autographs to Colts fans after the game.
Irsay?
Yeah, he was like 17 sheets to the win. Not even 3 sheets.
Oh, man.
Not 6 sheets.
That's not surprising.
17 sheets to the win.
It's on brand,
But you can tell that at this point, all those guys have hot seats. And I think that you're going to see, if they continue this trend, because they still have the Chiefs and they have the Titans.
Twice.
Well, I'm just talking about these next 2 weeks.
Okay.
That if they go and start 0-3-1, I don't know how much further they go with at least Frank Reich. Now, they'll continue all through Chris Ballard.
I love football season.
But Ballard...
Football season makes people do crazy shit.
But this is what we've told everybody, right? I mean, I have personally said it. Now, you've been a little bit of a Colts defender. You've defended Matt Ryan.
To you.
Yeah, you've defended Chris Ballard. I mean, if you say it, you got to believe it. No empty calories.
No. I believe that. So here's what I want to make sure I'm clear on this. I do not view the Colts the way the national pundits.
But you view them better than I view.
Probably
at the time.
100%. I've always had the Titans winning the division. I've never not picked the Titans to win the division. I've went on ESPN radio multiple times and made sure that I was saying the Titans are going to win the division. I don't understand the love of the Colts. Now, I think they have accomplished more than Titans fans want to give them credit for, considering the situation over the last 5 years, 5 different quarterbacks. And to be,
but that is of their own doing,
of course. But to be, well, not all. I mean, Andrew Luck just walks away in the prime of his career.
Well, that's because they kind of just pushed him out.
Maybe that's
pushed him out, but
a weird guy,
kind of forced his hand a little bit.
But again, Frank Reich's win-loss record with Mike Vrabel is 4 games worse over 4 years. They basically have identical win-loss records, and he's done it with 4 different quarterbacks. Vrabel's done it with 2, and so it's again. I'm not. This is now. It's going to come off when I talk to you as Colts defending the Colts. It's not at all. I've always thought the Titans were better, but could it be worse than I expected? Could Chris Ballard be on the hot seat?
Because I've always been head and shoulders above.
Yes. Well,
now they're waistline above.
In most things in life, you are.
Yeah.
So, again, if you're looking to drown your sorrows, make sure you Uber Eats the White Slickers booze right to your house. And again, almost 100 years of locally owned operating business here in Nashville. So check out White Slickers. We are here at the pharmacy. But just remember, you could be the Colts.
Could be the Colts.
Could be worse. You could be the Colts. Speaking of crazy shit, It's Florida week, baby.
It begins.
It's Florida week. And I told you guys on Thursday, I've been around this fan base. I'm an alumni of Tennessee. I have been in this state for 20-something years, 25 years. There is something happening right now, and it's going to go off in Knoxville on Saturday. Game day, the checkerboard, they're favored by 9 or 10 points. All of these things are the kiss of death if you are a Tennessee Volunteer fan. Something is bubbling under the surface, and it is going to explode on Saturday, and I have no clue if that's a victory or a failure. But either way, the energy levels are high in the SEC in week number 4 because it's Florida week, baby.
So
Florida's
kind of gone of all of the week 1 storylines in the SEC and in college football. Florida has been the one that has proved so far to be the biggest liar. Now, I want to ask you this question. Florida comes away and is lucky to come away with a win over the weekend.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. They're very lucky.
Yeah.
Is that good or bad for heading into UT?
It's terrible for Tennessee.
Okay. Tell us why.
It's because it's all in your head. It's all in their heads. Now, every player, no. But fans, again, I've got text messages from buddies that are like literally looking up the record when it's checkerboard in Neyland Stadium. Like, oh, they're checkerboarding Neyland Stadium. We're going to lose. Game days in Knoxville, we're going to lose. We're favored over Florida. They played terrible last week against South Florida. Of course, that means we're going to lose. So it's all mental. It's all psychological. None of it is like, who on Florida's defense can stop Cedric Tillman? Who on Florida's front 7 can pressure Hendon Hooker? Like, none of it's about any of that. Can the outside pass rush for Tennessee contain Anthony Richardson and keep him in the pocket? The answers to all of those questions are yes. Tennessee absolutely is the better football team, and they should win the game. There's no way it's going to happen. They're 1-29.
I was about to say the record. You told me
against Alabama and Florida in the last 15 years. Tennessee is 1-29, and the one win was Butch Jones, which that makes it a fluke.
So you're betting this game.
I would take the Gators plus the 10 points and feel totally fine with it, and that still gives you lots of room for a Tennessee victory.
Okay, so
we'll talk a lot about it on Thursday.
What is the state of Knoxville if Florida comes out and wins? Close game, bad or blowout, doesn't matter. Florida wins. Is there a state of emergency National Guard called in at some point?
The sun sphere is just rolling down the Smoky Mountains. I think again, win or lose, I think they're going to burn things and turn over cop cars. I really do. Like, I think it's going to be nuts.
So even if they win,
if they win, it will be 20 years of pent-up frustration against Florida. I mean, I'm seeing tweets about Jabbar Gaffney, which of course is that time of year. Like, again, 2002 was a long time ago, folks. But this is what I'm saying. Like, this is the fun of this week. And I cannot remember a time where Tennessee came into this situation more prepared, playing better football, dominated Akron, covered a 49-point spread. And Florida struggles against South Florida, where they gave the game away with bad snaps at the end of it. South Florida gave it to Florida. Anthony Richardson did not play well against Kentucky, did not play well on Saturday. Every single thing is pointing to Tennessee winning, which is why all Tennessee fans are terrified. So it's cathartic about the win, and if they lose, holy hell.
What's your prediction?
Get out of the way. I think Tennessee these are famous last words. I'll give you my official prediction on Thursday.
Okay.
Tune into a football show live
Look at that
Monday
tease.
and Thursday at 1 o'clock.
Look at that tease.
I will give you my official prediction. And if you want picks against the spread, make sure you check out Fringe Element podcast on the YouTube page as well. We've also got Fringe Element Full Pod on Wednesdays covering all things SEC football. So we got a lot of football coverage at Broadway and at 440, of course. And we are here live at the Pharmacy. Beer Garden Burger Parlor. You're supposed to do those flipped. Burger Parlor first, Beer Garden second, but they are one and the same. And it is a beautiful place to come hang out and grab lunch. And of course, if you want a big renovation with your house, make sure you check out the Casey Group, buildkg.com. All right. It's just exciting to be Florida week. That's all. It's just excited. Alabama rolls. They're still top 2 in the nation, but you had some questions.
I'm beginning to think that there is a problem with this offense, and I think it stems from Bill O'Brien kind of pulling a Todd Downing and not putting the
it all comes back to Todd Downing.
Overvaluing the players that you have on the field. Because unless it goes to the running backs and unless Bryce Young pulls something magical out of his ass, I feel like hardly any of these offensive plays are working to the extent they need to work and have worked in the past. And I understand what you saw last year. You saw an explosive offense, but you also had a myriad of better pass catchers. And not to say that these pass catchers can't be good. I don't think they're being put in the best position to succeed.
All right, so this is interesting. I went back and looked. I mean, even against ranked opponents last year, against conference opponents, against Power 5 opponents, Alabama was a top 12 to 15 offense in efficiency. So last year with Jamison Williams and with John Mechie, and basically the rest of the offense.
Brian Robinson, I think, matters.
Brian Robinson matters, as does Evan Neal.
Yeah.
Which is, again, some of their questions are about the elite upside and talent on offense at the wide receiver position and along the offensive line. So those are two very real for Alabama standards, personnel questions. They are still a top 15 offense in college football this year. Now, they've played two nobodies in Texas, and they struggled against Texas.
And they looked
until the very end when
they
Bryce
looked
Young
slow, though. To me, they came out very lethargic in the slow starts and the hesitations. Like there was something wrong in that first quarter for Alabama.
Yes, there was.
And that's I feel like every game almost.
And we talked about this a little bit when we reacted to the loss or the win over Texas a couple of weeks ago with Alabama. And I think you're right to bring up the evolution of the offense and the schematic side of things with Bill O'Brien, because while they were elite against Georgia in the SEC championship game last year, slinging it all over the place, Williams and Mechie were part of that. And I think when they got injured, that's what everybody points to again in the national title game. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair for Georgia.
I agree with you that I think that while it may have been closer, I don't think that you can put it squarely on those two guys going out and take that away from what Georgia put on the field.
But it is clear that they do not have those pieces right now on offense,
and that was known going into the season.
It's well, I think people thought that
it would just be Bama's Bama.
Like Burton, the transfer from Georgia, was just going to step in and be a star. And so here's what I think they can do. I think they can develop over time in the season at receiver. I don't think the offensive line questions will be solved. And so therefore Bill O'Brien is left to scheme his superstar quarterback into situations where he can allow him to make plays. And that may not, again, they're going to play Arkansas, A&M, and Tennessee here coming up in a couple of weeks. That's when we're going to learn about this team.
Yeah.
Because those three teams, like A&M, for all of its flaws, and we're going to get to them in a second, defensively A&M is still very, very good. So that's the real test, is going to be A&M in a couple of weeks, and then Arkansas on the road before that.
Yeah, I just feel like if you're pointing at something if you're looking for someone to shoulder the blame on this offense, I think it's going to have to fall down to Bill O'Brien. Just something about this scheme and how it's been handled this year just doesn't seem like it can be a viable thing when you're heading up against Georgia in the SEC championship and when you're heading to obviously the college football playoffs.
Whoever you might be playing USC's offense. I'm sorry, I was laughing at Zach in the middle of his Alabama commentary as we now have a fight in the YouTube comments section between Titans fans and one Bills guy. Corey in the comments says, "Go watch your own shitty Bills media."
Does that mean that we're shitty Titans media?
I think that's an insult to us. I think, Corey, but thank you for defending us.
Yeah.
I believe it.
College football, that's still around. Obviously, there is nothing good in New York for college football.
Golly. All right, Orchard Park, settle down up there. We know you're excited about the game. We've all seen the sad Bills fans leaving Nashville's airport.
Yes,
we've all seen them. Okay, where are we headed to now? Course correction: LSU and Texas A&M. Texas A&M, to me, they switched quarterbacks to Max Johnson. I think that's an interesting decision. The offense wasn't all that much better, but it was better. And more importantly for A&M, the defense is so good. Miami, not as good as we expected. No receiving depth and talent for the Hurricanes. Could not.
So what did we learn? Did we learn that maybe the defense can carry this Texas A&M team to maybe 6 or 7 wins?
More. I think it could carry them to more than that.
Wow.
In theory. I still think the bigger question is Max Johnson didn't fix things right away.
Right.
And for a guy who's supposed to be more consistent inside the framework of the offense, because Haynes King's athleticism is what gave him the edge to start for A&M. The fact that the offense wasn't all that much more efficient is a concern. Now, Miami's much better competition than either of the two teams they played in the first two, even though they lost to App State. Miami's a better defensive talent roster and all that stuff. I think A&M is going to have to win low-scoring, ugly football games. They play Arkansas this week. They got pushed around last year. We're going to learn a lot about A&M this week against Arkansas in Jerry World, that neutral site parking lot that they play college football games in occasionally, which is stupid, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm a Texas A&M fan, if I'm one of those overall wearing lunatics, if I feel as good about this team. I feel better, but not great about this team.
Yeah, it's funny to me as someone who lived in Austin before I moved to Nashville and I've been around the A&M program a lot.
What hipster city have you not lived in? Portland? Is that where you're retiring?
Never been in Portland. I was born in Madison. Does that count? Wisconsin?
That count? I don't know. I don't know much about Madison.
It's a little bit more Midwestern, but there's some hipster. There's some
Portland next.
Hipster, like
you heard it here first. Braden's retiring to Portland.
What is it like? Progressive values in marijuana? Like what is it that makes the town hipster? Good music scene? I don't know. So what was I talking about? The all the weird cultish like things that A&M does to support its team, like they're coming out in videos and people are seeing them all over the internet, and it's kind of stupid how people are reacting to that. Does it look a little culty? Yes. Is it a cult? Probably. Is it bad for like the world and humankind? Like no. It's if your team.
I don't know. It's pretty bad. It's like if my team did that and they were saying that stuff, when I'm watching it, I'm thinking. First off, I wouldn't even attend this. I maybe would have attended the first one.
Maybe for college.
Yeah, if I'm in college, I wouldn't have attended it. Even if I'm an adult, I would not have attended that. If Alabama did that and it was like for real and serious, I'd be like, whoa, that's
Tennessee.
Bad.
Here's the thing: if Tennessee had a yell practice on Friday nights in the fort somewhere,
maybe it's just the way it's presented.
Maybe
it's not
nuts.
the yell practice itself; it's the way it's presented.
I know.
Where these guys, they're not even funny.
They're definitely not funny, but that's part. Sometimes that's kind of part of the thing. Again, if your team did it, you would be like, leave our traditions alone. Just let us be stupid with ourselves, okay? And I think that, like, again, Tennessee's got a dog. Texas A&M's got a dog. Like, they all have dogs. Like, they all have names.
What's wrong with dogs? Are you anti-dog now? Is this anti-dog?
That's what I'm saying. Twitter feels like it's anti-everything just because A&M has a few traditions that are maybe silly. And I think it's a little stupid for us to say, all right, look at, like, they're not doing anything.
I think it's perfectly acceptable to say, look at these fucking losers, these unfunny losers at Texas A&M.
That's true. They're not funny.
Yeah. And they're losers.
There's that.
They're not winners.
They won this weekend over a top 15 team. So we'll see if they can do it again this weekend against Arkansas. A&M, that's a big one. We'll talk about it on Thursday. LSU. Some coaches, here's the thing. Some coaches can just stop Mike Leach.
Yeah.
And I think Brian Kelly and his defensive staff did a great job of stopping Mike Leach's offense.
I thought they did a very good job.
And there's just, if you go back and watch Washington, Chris Peterson, Elijah Molden's old coach.
Yep.
If you go watch him, all of his games against Mike Leach and Washington State were great, were excellent. So I think LSU did a great job. I think Mississippi State's still a pretty good team. I think Florida State's turning out to be a better team, and therefore LSU's loss in the beginning of the season is not as bad. And Jaden Daniels, here's the thing about Jaden Daniels, Zach.
He's kind of still shitty, but they somehow win. Like,
if he wants to play football in the first three quarters, please, by all means, Jaden Daniels, show up.
Yeah.
And play football in the first three quarters. So
I don't understand what LSU is. You know, we walked away. Yeah. The big thing is, who would we learn more about, LSU or Texas A&M, when we were on, or not Texas A&M, LSU and Mississippi State on Thursday's show? I don't think I learned anything about either of them, except for maybe Mike Leach. Just it's good, but not good.
Yeah, he has limitations. Yeah,
and so I don't feel like I really am. I don't see, when I looked at LSU playing, I still am kind of like Texas A&M. Could they still be a team that wins, 9 games? LSU probably not, but I would be a little surprised, but not overly surprised. But I would err more if I'm betting like 5-win teams, both of them.
Oh, Mississippi State and LSU?
Oh, LSU and Texas A&M.
Oh, no.
So I'm just at this point where I'm just not sure what either of these teams are.
I think that's fair. I would still go 8 or 9 wins for A&M. I would still go 7 or 8 wins.
I think you're just trying to salvage your Texas A&M homerism that you had all off.
I could not care less about A&M.
I think you're lying. I think you're lying to yourself and you're lying to our audience.
Hook 'em, baby. Hook 'em. You know how you confuse an Aggie? Tell
of like 13,000 different ways.
Ask him a question.
Yeah.
All right. So where are we going here? We told you so. We're going to do some victory laps here in the SEC, because I thought we were going to learn a lot about Mississippi State and LSU and A&M, and I don't think we did really.
Yeah, I don't either.
But I think they're all decent teams, so we got to see more from them before we realize if they're really good teams or if they're average teams. I think they're all bowl teams, though. So.
Speaking of plus money, like we were talking about the Jaguars, Vanderbilt being plus money all the way through to kickoff was ridiculous in my mind as well. Now, they did get scary there for a second. I popped back in to watch the game, and like Southern or Northern?
Northern Illinois.
Northern Illinois was like up by
the
like 20
Huskies, not
points
the
or something.
Two different kinds of dogs.
And I was a little concerned. And then, of course, the AJ, their quarterback, is fucking fun to watch.
Oh, the freshman AJ Swan.
Yeah, AJ Swan
got the start, and very fun to watch. Very athletic, big body, big arm. Looks the part of a starting quarterback.
But we told you so. Well, technically, you told them so because you told everybody 2.5 wins for Vanderbilt, 3 wins.
We're at 3. We're at 3 now,
already.
Now, technically, they played in week 0, so it's not technically 3 in 3 weeks. It's 3 in 4 games.
Yeah,
but we'll take the W because the check's cashed, and we told you to go over. We told you to go over on Kansas as well. Now they're way over also.
Yep.
3 wins in 3 games. But I think this is a positive step for Vanderbilt. I think this is a good sign for Vanderbilt. Now, the switch to quarterback was unexpected because they went to Swan late in the Wake Forest game. And to see him play as well as he did as such a young player is both a positive sign and also sort of a why didn't you see this earlier kind of thing for Clark Lee.
Well, I think Mike White's
sign.
Athleticism is just off out of this world. And I think it cost him 1 game against Wake Forest. We really don't know what AJ
Swan would not have won the game.
Right. So did they really lose anything by waiting to unleash AJ Swan? Not really. He got to watch a couple of things and be on the sidelines, learn how they call plays, learn what not to do. A lot of things that a freshman needs to learn. Yep. Like when Malik Willis is on the sidelines with Ryan Tannehill, he's hearing play calls. He's hearing how they're relayed to the huddle. He's hearing and learning all this stuff as the game goes on, which is all important. And that's what AJ Swan got to learn.
Now, random question here.
Yeah.
I don't believe that you can hear. They turn the headset off
15 seconds before,
right? But that's so that the quarterback can't hear.
Well, they have a headset on too. I don't know what they can hear.
This is what I'm asking. What I'm curious about is can the backup quarterback and can the coaching staff still hear Ryan Tannehill?
I would think so.
That it's not a 2. They cut it off one way.
I think it's one way. But don't quote me on that.
If I'm Malik Willis, that would be fascinating to listen to Ryan Tannehill orchestrating pre-snap after the play's been called.
Right.
Now we're off on a Titans tangent, but I was thinking about that because if Swan's sitting there next to Wright, listening and learning and watching how it all goes, and Willis is doing the same thing, how far to the zeros can he go?
I would think that you should still be able to hear Ryan, but Ryan can't hear you.
That's what I would assume.
Because if you're offensive coordinator, I think you would need to know what is being called in the huddle, make sure that the play was correctly attributed.
So victory lap on the Colts being awful. Number 1. Yeah. Victory lap on Vandy taking the over. What's our next victory lap, Zach?
South Carolina is overrated. We all said
Hot damn.
And boy, are they overrated. I like that everybody said that Georgia was murdering that day on Saturday. And what did we talk about?
Could
they get arrested?
Dead bodies.
Yeah. And South Carolina is just bad. And where are you at on Shane Beamer right now?
They are dead last. Here you go. South Carolina is dead last in the SEC in yards per play on offense. They are dead last in the SEC in yards per play on defense. So the offense is terrible. The defense is terrible. They've been blown out. They've given up 100 points in 2 games in conference. Now, to be fair to South Carolina, they played Arkansas and Georgia. You could argue are 2 of the top 3 teams in the conference. One on the road, and then Georgia just anytime is awful. I don't think this, much like Brian Kelly at LSU, I don't think you can, and Billy Napier is up and down already in 3 weeks at Florida. I don't think you can make any rash judgments about a coach in his first time as a head coach in 3 games, especially when you're playing 2 top 10 teams, Arkansas and Georgia. But he's never been a coordinator before. He's never called plays, and he's been selling that as a positive thing. And it could be. I never believed in the Spencer Rattler, Shane Beamer hype from the summer. I thought they were more of a 6-win team at best. And while they could salvage the season, I'm not sure I'm seeing it out.
But isn't this Shane's second season as head coach?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. He had a
Yeah.
Last year they go 6 wins, but they beat Auburn when Auburn was trying to fire their coach. They beat Florida, who had just fired their coach, and they needed the last play of the game to beat
This is to me is a little bit like saying, well, it was Todd Downing's first week. I mean, don't we have?
Yeah, I need to correct what I meant to say was.
But what I want to get back. The reason I'm bringing this up is not to call you out on an error.
No. It made a mistake.
So yeah. It's not to call you out on a mistake. It's to ask, is that not enough combined with what you've already seen to figure out that Beamer's probably not it, or is this you thinking that this could be some Mark Stoops?
No. This is where I need to reframe what I was saying. But I think my point is still valid again in my own head, guys. Which is that. Last year, he overachieved and gained ground on expectations. Like my personal expectations was like, oh, this is not going to be a good hire. They went way above and beyond last year. So, like, he's got house money in the bank, which means we can't judge these 3 games. Like, we can't judge them as an all negative because he has all this positive banked in the Does that make a count?
So you're kind of
he's like through this.
He's kind of like playing with house money, right? Like,
I mean,
okay,
last year they
he's
won 7 games.
He's up $5,000 at the casino, and now he's lost a few hands, and he's still up $3,000.
Yes. South Carolina fans still are living off last year's vibes and the recruiting.
But is that the correct way to look at it? Like, they objectively, we're not South Carolina fans, so objectively, where I guess are you willing to give Shane Beamer the rest of the year? Obviously,
yeah. I want to see what he does. And if he gets this team to a bowl game and Spencer Rattler shows, here's the other thing. A lot of this was tied to, I don't think Spencer Rattler's that great.
Yeah.
And while he's one of the most talented players South Carolina's ever had, he's just not that good. And so some of this is tied to preseason expectations of Rattler that I thought were a little over their skis. So
kind of similar to what they were last year.
Yeah. He's got house money in that they way overachieved, won 7 games, won a bowl game.
So if they underachieved this year, he's back to zero.
He's back to even is kind of what I said it very poorly and I misspoke on the first-year coach, but I think the point is still there, which is that we can't judge him on 3 games because Georgia and Arkansas are 2 of those games.
Yeah.
And we need to see a little bit more. Like Ole Miss. Ole Miss is 3-0, and they have dominated all 3 games. What do we know about Ole Miss? That they've beaten 3 really bad teams.
Yeah.
So we don't know anything yet.
I don't even think we learned anything really about their quarterback situation, to be honest with you, because what did they all score off of? It's like rush touchdown, rush touchdown, rush touchdown.
Like if you look at the numbers, Ole Miss right now is number 2 in the SEC in offense.
Yeah.
Because they haven't played anybody.
Yeah.
Tennessee's played a road game against a ranked opponent and won in overtime. Like that's going to affect your numbers. So that's why I'm sort of like, let's
wait.
Let's let South Carolina play their non-conference gimmies. Let's let South Carolina play Vanderbilt and some of these other teams. And if they lose to those teams, then I think we're going to we're talking Shane Beamer hot seat going into year 3. So,
but we still get to take a victory lap
for sure. We do,
and I think the other victory lap, and this is a victory lap that I was against. It's all you.
Oh, this is just me.
Just you.
Just me.
Stetson Bennett.
He's pretty good at football.
Go off on guys. Stetson Bennett.
Pretty damn good at football, boys. I'm just saying, like, the guy's not the most talented. He's not going to be an NFL player. But watch the way Georgia runs the offense. Now, I will say this. Brock Bowers might be the best player in the country. I might put Will Anderson.
The Titans use Jeff Swaim like the Georgia Bulldogs use Brock Bowers.
Got it. If I put Brock Bowers and Will Anderson into a scientific laboratory, and told them to study their athleticism, I'm not sure you could tell the difference.
You would break the machines.
The machines would break. That's exactly what happened. The machines would break, and we'd end up in like what's the multiverse time police? What are the TVP?
Yeah, the TVA.
The TVA or TV. That's where we would end up. The whole world would crash because Bowers and Anderson would break the machine. He might be the best player in the game. Like the way they can use him, the things he does, the size and speed and the agility. Like Brock Bowers might be the best football player. Now, I'm supposed to be talking about Stetson Bennett. Stetson Bennett just knows how to run the offense. Like he just knows where to put the ball. He knows who to get the ball to win.
It's not Jake Fromm-esque, right? I mean, like he's better than Jake Fromm. Is there not NFL talent there at all that any team could get something out of him? I mean, you got teams starting Mac Jones. Do you not think he's better than Mac Jones?
No, not from a talent perspective.
Wow, I kind of do. I kind of come around on Stetson Bennett. Maybe it's just Georgia's scheme.
Pure talent is different, I think. Also, here's the other thing. Like, I've stood next to Malik Willis, and like literally weeks after I stood next to Stetson Bennett and talked to him, like, Stetson Bennett is a tiny-looking dude. Like, he looks like your accountant. No disrespect to accountants. You guys are all wonderful people, I'm sure.
So kind of like almost Russell Wilson-esque.
Even smaller. Willis looks more like Russell Wilson. Like Wilson's kind of built.
So
like
Baker Mayfield-esque, Sam Howell-esque.
Yeah, or less than.
Gotcha.
Like but the point is like you look at efficiency, 11 yards per attempt. You look at where he gets rid of the football, how he manages an offense. The fact that he came into this year completely in control of the job, and last year it was all about the fighting with JT Daniels. Like I think here's the crazy victory lap that I want to be careful.
Okay.
I want to be careful. Is Georgia better this year than last year?
Kind of feels that way, but I also look at the competition that they played so far. None of it's good.
Oregon just destroyed a top 15.
Do not care. Oregon's not good.
Oregon is a top 15 team.
By just standards of being in the Pac-12.
So
I don't think
no teams are good then.
I don't think that Oregon is a very good football team, no matter how coaches and stuff overrate the Pac-12. In comparison to the SEC, I think if they were in the SEC this year and played an SEC schedule, they would be closer to Vanderbilt.
You realize that Arkansas almost just lost to Missouri State.
Almost lost, and lost doesn't mean anything to me.
Okay.
Gotta win. They win.
Oregon got blown up by Georgia, which Georgia's going to do to everyone. Oregon then just this weekend blew out a very good BYU team. BYU is a very good football team. I think there's an interesting conversation about college football this year in that 4 through 40 in the rankings are all about the same. And the top 3 are way better than everybody else. And that's the interesting conversation. And Oregon and Tennessee and Arkansas and Kentucky and Mississippi State and Florida and LSU might all be in that group. And we're going to find out which teams rise to the top. Right now, it looks like Arkansas, Tennessee, and Kentucky in the SEC are rising to the top. A&M's in that mix. So the question is going to be who survives.
I don't know about that.
Who survives?
I don't think I'm ready to.
Look, if you look at our preseason magazine at Athlon Sports, every one of these teams were like 8-4. We had 10-2 for A&M, which still is possible. So I think you can take the victory lap on Stetson Bennett. I think you can take the victory lap on Vandy over. Take the victory lap on South Carolina being overrated. I'm not sure we've learned anything yet.
Are we the
rest
best
of the SEC.
and most accurate sports show on the planet?
Scientifically, yes.
Seems like it.
Seems like it, scientifically.
We're on quite the roll.
Titans 31, Bills 28 from the F-Words pod.
Nope. No.
That was the pick. At F-Words pod. That was the pick. It's science, folks. It's science. All right, what else we got here? Make sure you go to Weiss Liquors. Make sure you go to Kingston Group, buildkg.com. If you want to order some booze and let them do the driving, go to Weiss Liquors, Uber Eats, search Weiss Liquors. They'll send it. They'll deliver it right to your house in as quickly as 20 minutes. And if you're going to come eat a burger, a milkshake, a beer, a bratwurst, some tots, Pharmacy right here on McFerrin is the place to do it. Any parting words of wisdom for Monday Night Football game?
I think that win or lose, you should still be high on the Titans to win the AFC South. And you should still be high on the Titans to make some noise throughout the regular season. They're not going to look, whether they look great tonight or look bad tonight, it's all going to even out for a Mike Vrabel team because we've seen it just year in and year out.
That's how it works in the NFL. There's no question. Kevin, Braden's face when Zach said Oregon isn't good. I do. I get visually sick when people start insulting other areas of the country. I love my college football.
Told y'all he's moving to Portland. Look at this green shirt.
Weiss Liquors, everybody. Mischief Mike, thanks for hanging out.
Green and yellow Oregon fucking colors on over here.
And
he's going to go to hipster Portland. He's retiring there. I'm telling you.
Listen,
secret Oregon fan.
Worse places to be than the West Coast. I'm just saying. I'll stay right here in East Nashville with the Pharmacy, Burgers, and Weiss Liquors, and I'll be just fine when the apocalypse shows up. All right. For Zach, I'm Braden. Follow F-Words Pod. Follow Broadway Sports Media. Got a big announcement coming up on Wednesday, so make sure you check out the F-Words Pod, of course. You got Music City Audible.
It's more of a reveal than an announcement. It's a reveal.
A reveal?
I like to say reveal. I like to emphasize.
A reveal coming up on Wednesday. We'll be back, of course, on Thursday. Make sure you check out the pod, the YouTube, the Twitter, the Facebook. Please turn on all the notifications for the Kingston Group, for Weiss Liquors, and for the Pharmacy, Burger, Parlor, and Beer Garden. Easy for me to say. For Zach Lyons, I'm Braden Gall. Thanks for listening and hanging out with us and watching. Enjoy the game tonight. This has been a football show.